It's Beer O'Clock and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, your weekly dose of hop overdose. My name is Mark, and joining me with this Imperial IPA klaxon at the ready is the hop monster himself, Steve. Hello, Steve.
HALCYON! Hello, Mark.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm alright. Also joining us for tonight's Amber Delectations, all the way from Manchester, is beer blogger and someone who is on a quest to find the perfect obscene hop monster double IPA, Rowan Molyneux. Hello, Rowan.
Hi.
How are you going?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Very good. We have a bit of a hoppy beer tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Steve may have just shouted the name of the beer. I don't know. But we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Mate, I think it's the worst kept secret on the internet what beer we're doing.
Yeah, tweeting it everywhere earlier.
We've got a little bit of... I've got my show notes here that Steve wrote up, and the key messages are Indy Man, Indy Man, Indy Man. But we'll get to that in a little while as well.
It's all about Indy Man tonight, mate. Absolutely.
But
it's all about two things. It's about Halcyon and Indy Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's all that matters this week.
And I'll get to appreciate neither of them. What happened with Thornbridge takeover at Crate? Steve, I have a note here. Tell me the story.
Yeah, it was just last week. Thornbridge had a tap takeover at Crate Brewery, which is it's near Hackney Wick Station, which is one stop on from Stratford. But it's just the other side of what was the Olympic Park, so you can actually walk to it from Stratford. I don't think you've been there, Mark. It's a little brewery and pizza place on one of the canals over there, and Thornbridge were doing a tap takeover there last week, to which I and a few others went down to, and it was a pretty good night actually. It was a pretty relaxed night. We went through most of their beers. Disappointingly, there was no Halcyon. They also disappointingly actually, they had, although Jaipur was on the list, that wasn't on either, which was a bit of a shame. And I was chatting to the guys in Thornbridge about why it wasn't on, and they said basically because it's so widely available, they didn't want to put it on first. They wanted to put on some of their more their rarer beers on first. So it was a good little evening. Like I said, there's a few of us there. Got to finally try their peanut butter brown, which was more peanut than butter and wasn't exactly what I was expecting from it. But as I said, it was a decent night, and it certainly got the old whistle wetted for Indy Man this weekend.
Cool. And apart from that, what else have you been drinking this week, mate?
I can't remember. A lot. Andy from Beers of Italy came to Thornbridge last week, and he gave me another bottle of My Antonia,
Right.
because he said he felt awful that I was unwell when we reviewed it, so I needed to try it properly. So I was really grateful for that. So I had that at the weekend, and I had a bottle of the beer that Ian sent over from 11 p.m. somewhere in Ireland. He sent over the Galway Bay of Foam and Fury, the big double IPA. Yeah, ooh, indeed, yes. A very, very nice beer. Just really thick and a lovely example of a double IPA. Those are probably my two highlights of the weekend. Oh no, and there was one more. Actually. Despite the amount of abuse that I was getting on Friday and Saturday about my lack of love for saisons and all things not IPA centric, I tried a double yesterday from Tickety Brew. They're up your way, aren't they, Rowan?
They are indeed.
And that was stunning. That was an absolutely cracking beer. It was like a slice of fruitcake in a glass with some fizz in it and loads of booze. It was just really, really nice. A really standout beer. So I'm glad I've tried that.
Cool.
Yeah, they're not bad. They've got a jasmine green tea beer, which is quite good as well.
Interesting.
That sounds disgusting.
I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. I'll take your word on that one.
How about you, Ron? What have you had of that's interesting in the last week or so?
I've actually been drinking a fair bit of Thornbridge as well. But before that, I had Dunham Massey Green Hop Beer. They're quite local. They're a bit old school, but I mean, it's green hop, so it can't be bad, can it? And it was surprisingly sort of pungent and sticky in a really good way. So yeah, that was quite good actually. Dunham Massey is an area, sort of local around here-ish. And I've been drinking the Thornbridge Wild Raven, I believe it's called now, which is just fantastic as always. And earlier in the week I did have a sneaky halcyon, I must admit. We just finished moving house and it just had to happen.
I love the way they refer to it as a sneaky halcyon. It's only 7.4%. No one will notice. No one will realise.
Cool. Okay. I've not had that much. I had a human cannonball, which was completely wasted on me. And
mate, honestly, we nearly fell out on the weekend when you posted what you posted about that. I was like, well, that's it. I don't think there's going to be any more shows.
There's far too much hops, man. Too many hops.
Oh, come
No
on.
such thing.
It's
Stupidly hops.
See, you're in the minority tonight, mate. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah.
I've got the double hop monsters facing off against me.
Yes, it's a hop attack.
And last night I had, again, a beer from that Ian from the 11 p.m. somewhere sent over, which was the Kinsale Pale Ale from Blacks of Kinsale, which was...
Oh, yeah, what did you think of that?
It was really nice. A bitter pale, nice and golden.
I've had that before.
Quite refreshing, yeah.
Actually. It's quite spicy, isn't it? Got quite a spicy finish to it.
Yeah, it was good. I was quite surprised, actually. I don't know why I would be quite surprised. I don't see why the Irish wouldn't be producing good quality pales, but...
Yeah, shock! Shock, the Irish can brew beer.
Something out of County Cork that's actually tasty. Anyway, I can say that because my mother-in-law is from Cork. Yeah. Stephen.
Mark.
We have some news.
Always. There's always news.
Do you want your
And
pips?
actual news again this week. Yes, we've got to have the pips,
All right.
please.
Beep, 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 beep.
Okay, first up, then we've had both of the guys on the show before and they both spoke about it. Ed Razzle and Justin Mason have been doing some work on Beer East Anglia, which is the discerning drinker's guide to beer and pubs in East Anglia. It was finally launched this week. The website's now live and gives you details on pubs initially in Essex and Suffolk that are worthy of a visit, and there are plans to expand the guide to Norfolk, Cambridgeshire and the parts of Lincolnshire that fall into the region as well. So you can check that out at beerseastanglia.com, or you can find them on Twitter at Beer East Anglia. So give that a check out, certainly if you're in this area, because there are many a fine pub within the region. Next up, early this week, this week's Brewdog news, and this is quite big news actually that came out this week. As of the 1st of October, Brewdog are now a living wage employer, which is quite a big thing actually. I think there's not too many breweries that are able to call themselves living wage employers. I think the only other one that I know of is 5 Points, who will be featuring in a few weeks as well. But basically, what it means is it's got a positive knock-on effect to all the hourly paid positions, whether they're bars or brewery-based. Anybody within the company that's achieved the Cicerone server qualification, they'll fund staff to do the exams. It means basically it's going to cost them an extra $1 million alone next year just to fund this, and 10 million over the next 5 years. But I think it's just, I said before after the visit, it's they really care about the people that work for that company, and I think
Yeah.
this is just a further example. You used to work for them, didn't you, Rowan? You used to work in one
I
of the
did,
bars.
yeah. I was in the Manchester bar for about a year, and they were just really good to work for. I did my certified beer server part of the Cicerone qualification with them, and it was really good. Loads of support, studying for that and everything. They take all of their bar staff up to the brewery for brewery training, basically, so they know exactly where the beers are coming from. Yeah, basically they're so good on education. Yeah, it was a really good experience working for them, and yeah, it's fantastic that they're paying the living wage now. I mean, I think I left too soon.
Yeah, it seems as though you left just a few weeks too soon. There you go. For the second week in a row, we've actually got news, informed news. So it's news that we've got somebody else talking about as well. And then the final news this week, and really probably the only news this week, is the Indy Man beer lists have been released. And for audio podcast, again, I'm holding up my lists. We've looked at all the little green lines over them, stickers, everything. I just wanted to use this as probably the first opportunity to get Rowan's thoughts on the beers that are on the list. Anything that absolutely leaps out at you as a must-have over the weekend?
Well, I've only had a look at the Friday day session lists so far, but there have been a few which have been rather exciting. You had Matt Total Ales on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he'd be avoiding seeing the beer list to avoid making the experience too planned and clinical. And I do like that ethos, and that's something I can get behind. And usually I don't look at beer lists before I go to a beer festival. But with this, I couldn't help but take a look. It was too exciting. It was sort of being like a kid on Christmas morning, well, I mean, of course, Beer Moth are doing a couple of sours tastings on the Friday daytime, as sort of separate little events, which I might have to go along to. I think they're in you meet in the green room or something, but Pig and Porter have got a Big K Irish Pale Ale at 5.7%, which I quite want to try. Northern Monk have got a Kiwi Saison, which, well, you'll hate it, Steve. But,
not interested.
No. Red Willow have got Timeless Barrel Aged, and I believe that's a rhubarb sour. Ooh, and then there's a summer wine Ninja Man at 8.5%. So that might round off the evening for me, I think. But yeah, some really exciting beers there.
Yeah, I was much the same as you. I wasn't going to go through the list and pick out my beers, but then I did, and then I realised that I've selected far too many to get through even at the 3 sessions that I'm hoping to be at or planning to be at. So just picking out the real key highlights from each session for me. So Friday afternoon, there's a raspberry version of Colonel's London Sour. Which we featured the London Sour last season, and I know Mark quite enjoyed that one. I think a raspberry version of that would just be cracking. And then wouldn't be being true to myself if I didn't mention a Magic Rock beer, Pith Head, which is a fruit beer, which I remember seeing them brew, and basically they've just thrown a load of lemon and lime into this, and actual lemon and lime, the fruit, the rind, everything has gone into this brew to turn it into what it is. And then the other thing from Friday afternoon is, and I'm quite keen over the weekend actually, seeing as our theme this season is Italian beers, I want to try some of the Italian offerings. So there's a few on offer from Brewfist, and there's a few on offer from Tocomato as well. That I want to give a try. And then the only other one that I really want to mention, which I think is on Saturday day, is the Beavertown and Camden Town collaboration, the One Hells of a Beaver. which is basically part gamma ray and part Hell's Lager.
Oh, Christ.
Which interestingly, considering both of those beers we've featured on the show before, and both of those beers have won their respective polls that we run, I think they've made that collaboration in honour of us, without actually putting our name to it. So I'm gonna grab Matt Curtis while I'm there on Saturday, and we're gonna review that beer, and we'll feature that as a little clip on next week's show. I could go on about this beer list all night long, but my Halcyon isn't getting any colder, sat next to my screen here. So that ends this week's somewhat extended news.
Cool. Okay, well, without any further ado, let's get into this week's beer, which is a 500ml, 7.4% ABV Imperial IPA from a little mob called Thornbridge. It is, of course, Halcyon. So the other two have already cracked theirs open and pouring away.
Yeah, we're racing into it. What am I going to say about the aroma? I'm not, mate. I think I'm going to let you do most of the reviewing this evening.
No beer sex noises, Steve.
I'm too blown away by it. I'm trying my hardest to not go too over the top with it, but the aroma is just fantastic. I love the aroma of Halcyon. It's big, it's piney. There's some fruits in the background. There's some citrus fruits coming through.
Yeah, it's got all this grapefruit and lemon peel. It's just amazing.
And so begins the very unbiased reviewing.
Well, it's a lovely colour. It's a lovely straw colour.
It's held well as well, considering this was from the. Because I'm so disappointed to find that last week they released a new batch of this in bottles.
Know.
I was devastated because we could have done it literally within a week of being bottled. But this one's only from August, so it's not too bad. And I've had this in the fridge since the moment it arrived to try and preserve it. But it just smells. I'm not saying anything else because I reckon by this point anybody that's listening is going to be like, well, Steve's not able to give an unbiased view here.
Wait for my review. That's all I can say. I can't get much smell of it at all.
Mark, what are you getting from the aroma?
Not much. No, I'm not getting anything at all. I say we just start drinking.
Let's get in. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good. That is really good. Mark, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty light for a 7.4. Pretty easy.
That's the thing. It's a real easy drinker for its ABV.
Very nice.
Yes. Yeah, you could very easily get lost on this. And despite the fact that back to Indy Man, despite the fact that it doesn't appear on any of the beer lists, I've been assured by the guys at Thornbridge that there are 2 kegs on their way to Indy Man.
Oh god, that'll be so fresh! I'm so excited.
I know. That's if it's still on it. That's if it makes it till Friday. Considering Indy Man starts on Thursday and there's only 2 kegs of it, I'm guessing it might be gone by the time I get there on Friday. But so yeah, very excited because I've never tried it on keg before. I've only ever had this out the bottle. So I'm quite excited about the prospect of trying it at Indy Man.
It's not bad, this. It's got like
you're just trying to balance this out, aren't you? Now,
it's got like a light biscuit base. The hops run off the side of the palate and then linger in the background quite strongly. They don't quite linger. They don't sit in the middle of your tongue like some beers do. They really tickle the outer senses. The aroma's not overpowering, so you're not getting a nose full of pine, which is quite nice. Or a nose much of anything, really, for me. But, yeah, it's quite light, like I said. Quite dangerous at 7.4. that this is so drinkable.
That's the thing, it is so refreshing for the strength. It's so dangerously quaffable. It's got these kind of fresh tropical flavors like pineapple in there and sort of satsumas going on. When my partner tried this, actually, he said it's like alcoholic marmalade. So yeah, lots of citrus going on there. But it's got like this kind of sort of dry hop bitterness that cuts through any of the sweetness from the alcohol, and it makes it a lot cleaner than it might otherwise be because it's got this kind of bitterness cutting through it.
So my work here is done. I don't need to say a word this week with reviews like that. What more can I add to that, really? I mean, I've made no secret of the fact that I love this beer, and I've drunk a lot of this beer since the beginning of the year. But for me, it's always, I've tried a couple of the batches now, and it's always consistently good as well. And that's one of the things that Thornbridge are really, really good at. Their beers are consistently good. Flavours in it are very, very crisp. They're very, very clean. They finish with a nice sticky bitterness that makes you want to go back in for more. There are those tropical hints coming through it all the way through. It's just, it's all joking aside, it's a really good beer. It's a beer that I'm happily going to time and time again.
Yeah, that biscuity maltness is somewhat balanced by a bitter orange and a nice bitterness at the end. Yeah?
You know what? Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
We're just all drinking.
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, with this review tonight, I think Thornbridge are now our most reviewed brewery on the show. Because just thinking back, we did the Wild Raven, or it was just plain Raven back when we did it. We've done Jaipur. We did the Kipling on the lock-in, and now we're doing Halcyon as well. And in a few weeks' time, we're going to be doing the Vienna IPA, which is although it's not a Thornbridge beer, Thornbridge have brewed it, but it was the Graham Nelson who won the homebrew competition.
Oh yeah.
So there's got to be a reason why we keep going back to Thornbridge beers. And again, I just think they're as a brewery, they've nailed it in terms of their consistency now. And
they have really smart labels as well. Very nicely done. Big bottles though, Steve.
I think they need to be big bottles, mate. I'd be really disappointed if this was only in 330ml.
You wouldn't go for a snifter of Halcyon then?
I don't really want a snifter of Halcyon, no. It's all I'm going to be able to do to stop myself from ordering more than a third at Indy Man. But I think sense will dictate there because there's lots of other beers I want to get through. Although saying that, they recently did put Jaipur in 330ml bottles for the export market. Yeah. Which I think would be really strange to see a Thornbridge beer in a 330ml bottle.
They look quite quaint.
Although at least I'd be able to get that in my fridge. I can't get these bottles in my fridge standing up. I have to take the milk out and put it in the door.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
Which doesn't go down well.
Well, we've got a wine rack built into our new fridge, so they've just gone.
Oh, fantastic! Check you out.
So, Rowan.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us how you got started beer blogging?
Oh God. So when I went to uni, I got involved with the Leeds Uni Real Ale Society, and that's when I sort of started really exploring beer. I started drinking cask beer back at home in my gap year when I was working in a pub that had really good cask beer. Sort of started on Dark Star, Hophead, light, really zesty, citrusy things like that. But when I got to uni, I started drinking more American beer, Belgian beer, and I ended up running the Real Ale Society as the president for a year. And I just really grew to be so obsessed with beer, basically, that it kind of just made its way into my life, and it's been, inextricably linked ever since. I've always been the type of person that writes lists, always kept diaries as kids, so it's just natural for me, really, to be writing about beer. I can't imagine being passionate about something and not writing about it, because I'm just that type of person. I just write about everything. Yeah, that's basically it. I started off like writing basically just lists of what I'd drunk that week, and it sort of ended up being writing about going to other cities and drinking other beers. And I went to Brussels and went to Cantillon and things like that. And I just couldn't not write about it basically. And yeah, it's been that way ever since.
What would you say your favourite beer is? Don't say Halcyon.
Cantillon Rose de Gambrinus, although the Loup Pepe Creek is a close contender, as is the Fafoon. This year's Svanse was pretty good. Basically, most things from Cantillon. Oh god, and Siren Limoncello. See, I can't choose just one. I'm too much in love with it. But yeah, Rose de Gambrinus or Siren Limoncello probably.
What styles are they?
So the Rose de Gambrinus is a lambic beer, and Siren Limoncello is nominally an IPA, but it's really sour with like lactose and lemon juice and stuff like that. It's basically a sour, but it's called an IPA. It's got loads of hops in as well.
Right.
Basically just a sour freak.
How are you getting on with your beer, mate?
It's almost gone.
You're doing better than me for once.
I don't. I really don't hang around with Halcyon. I drink it far too quickly. I think it's one of those beers that, yes, you can get a little bit more from it as it begins to warm, but actually it's best drunk fairly much straight from the fridge. Because that just it just helps the flavours, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think this beer warming does it any favours.
No, I'm finding now that it's warming up a little bit that the malt flavours are becoming somewhat stronger, and it's taking away that fresh citrus flavour to it. It was much nicer as soon as I opened it and started drinking it when it was still quite cold.
And that might be.
It's warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be one of the downsides of the 500ml bottle as well, because it's very difficult to keep all 500ml of that at the same temperature as you're drinking it.
Unless you got a wine bucket or something with ice in it.
You amateur.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't say that to him. Honestly, I've only just got him away from necking bottles. Have you not listened to the Unhuman Cannibal episode? Where he necked the full 660ml in 20 minutes.
That's pretty impressive, though.
It was impressive, considering it was early on in the Beer O'Clock show history as well. It was a good effort.
I sang my wife to sleep that night, I have to say. She didn't appreciate it.
Amazing.
So let me get your final thoughts on this beer before we go on to other things. Rowan, you can go first. Give me some objective commentary on your favourite Thornbridge beer.
Oh, objective. Now, I think you've got a lot of sort of imperial IPAs. You've got things along the lines of Buxton, Axe Edge, and you've got things like Brewdog, Jackhammer. They're all good. They're all very good. I love Halcyon because it's got this kind of loads of juiciness going on, and it is really balanced by that biscuity base. Other things can be, a bit one way or the other, a bit too bitter, or, really intensely, fruity. This has got a nice balance, and that's what I like about it.
Stephen?
For me, mate, it's just there's big tropical flavours in there. They wash through on the flavour. You get the pineapple, you get the grapefruit, you get a little bit of the citrus coming through, and then you get this fantastically bittersweet finish that's almost sticky, and that just makes you want to go back in for more. For me, it's just probably one of the most drinkable imperial IPAs out there, certainly of this ABV. Even sort of the likes of Cannonball, which are very, very drinkable. Around this ABV, this gives that a good run for its money. It's a very, very good beer.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. It's a shame that as it warms up, that biscuit profile really becomes a bit stronger. Because when I first started drinking it, it was really nice having that light, refreshing citrus, slightly bitter thing wash over my mouth. But it got a bit heavy towards the end. But no, it's very nice, very impressive. Well done, Thornbridge. That's my review. It's
a good beer. The one thing I'd suggest never to do with it is to mix it with anything else, though. I did try and blend it with a bottle of the Human Cannonball that I had the other week, and it really didn't work. It was an interesting experiment in terms of what it tasted like. You got, I think the Human Cannonball won through on the flavour stakes. The only bit of the halcyon that remained was kind of the bittersweet finish, that lovely stickiness on the finish. But yeah, this is a beer best enjoyed on its own as it is, in a glass at the perfect temperature, possibly with the lights down low, sat cuddling the bottle in the corner. That's the only way to enjoy this
with some
beer.
Soft music in the background.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Trousers are optional.
Dearie me, dearie me. God.
No, it might blend with the Wild Raven though.
I could see that actually. Yeah, the dark sort of roasted flavours of the Wild Raven coming through would probably add to that. Yeah.
Well, if they've got Wild Raven at Indy Man, they know what we're doing.
I was gonna say that sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
On a completely separate note, Andy Parker announced that he might be brewing my Tutti Frutti Saison as his next beer.
Really?
So be prepared, ladies and gentlemen.
I missed that announcement.
For...
You've got your own news and everything. Look.
Beep, 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 beep. Yes. He just tweeted it just flippantly the other day. I thought, oh yeah, Tutti Frutti Saison. Here we go. Beer of the year already.
Excellent.
Stephen.
Mark.
What's the Instagram prize of the week?
Oh, another hotly fought competition this week, mate. I'm going to have to give a few mentions out before we eventually get to the winner. So, and a few mentions this week as well, because it's been a really good week on Instagram. So, first mention, Son of a Gun. See, I can say his name now.
The Son of a Gun.
Flying Dog, Double Dog. Son of a Gun. Took a great picture of Flying Dog's Double Dog. That deserves a mention. Sparky Wright. Lovely black and white picture of Camden versus Mohawk. Fantastic film. An amazing picture of the Nitro Milk Stout by Left Hand, which we'll be featuring on the lock-in in January, which I believe Rowan's joining us for as well.
Ooh,
on
yes.
that one. Yes, so that should be a good evening. 1970s boy, Harvey's Blue Label. But this week's winner, for sheer persistence of posting picture after picture of Halcyon, Plim Sean 101, for one of his many Halcyon pictures that he's posted today. He returned today as Halcyon Monday in honour of tonight's show, but obviously it's Friday or when you're listening to this. But yeah, so that would have already been retweeted. You can see it on our Instagram account. It'll be in the show notes. You can link to it. Enter the prize. This prize. It's one of the most hotly fought competitions on Instagram. Use the hashtag Cheers Guys and your best picture of beer.
Cool. What's coming up next week?
Next week, there are going to be, much to your delight, loads of clips from Indy Man. What I've managed to do is, at the 3 sessions that I've managed to secure somebody in each session to do a review of a beer with me. So it'll be some very quick reviews. Already mentioned that Matt Curtis will be doing the One Hells of a Beaver on next week's show. Rowan and I are going to get together and find a beer to review. So Rowan will be back on next week's show. And the final blogger...
Halcyon again.
Do you want to do Halcyon again? Okay, I don't
No.
Kegged Halcyon. It's still marvellous. It's still the greatest beer ever. Maybe we'll do a review of Halcyon and Wild Raven blended. Who knows? And the third one is I'm going to do a review with Justin at 1970s Boy. We're going to go and grab one of the Italian beers that are going to be on offer. Just again keeping with this season's theme and doing a review of the Italian beers. So there'll be all that, plus there'll be an interview with the guy who basically runs Indy Man, Johnny Haynes. He's going to be giving us some time to talk about the convention and where it's going next and where it came from. So all that, plus we go back to Italy next week. To feature a Baladin beer called Isaac, which is a wit beer.
Ah, interesting. Looking forward to that. Right, Rowan, where can people find you, mate?
At www.rowanmolyneux.co.uk or at Rowan Molyneux on Twitter and Instagram and possibly Untapped if I don't get around to deleting it because I can't be bothered with this anymore. But yes, that's where.
You're really selling the idea of Untapped to the masses there. Right, the Beer O'Clock Show is proud to be supported by Ales by Mail, your premier destination for bottled real ales delivered direct to your door. Visit alesbymail.co.uk and use the code BOCS10 for a 10% discount off all of their range. Check out our beer list on the Season 5 beer list and pick out the beers to drink along. I'm sure you can get Halcyon from Ales by Mail.
Occasionally. When it pops up. Yeah. I don't think by the time they've released it on their own web store and people have rinsed that store completely of it, I don't think there's much left to go to other suppliers.
All right. Okay, and until next week, thanks Rowan for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
Hope you enjoy Indy Man. And
oh yeah,
Stephen, behave yourself this weekend.
I will do, mate. As always, it's been the highlight of my week.
And mine. Cheerio.